morning and welcome to the 64th Annual Lake Forest Car Show. The car show we're doing again this year with the Illinois region of the AACA and the Lake Forest Lake Bluff Rotary Club. As you can see out on the field, we have all kinds of cars today, but our feature cars are luxury cars of the 50s and 60s, including Lincolns, Cadillacs, and Packards, and the great Chrysler Imperial. We hope that everybody has a good time here today at the show. We've been doing it for many years out here at Deer Path School, and our fundraising this year will go to benefit the Equestrian Connection, as well as a lot of the other Lake Forest Rotary charities that we work with. We have a wonderful day with the weather. This is actually a record day that it's not the hottest day of the summer for the show. So please enjoy the show and the rest of the film here, because we've got a wonderful time and great cars to see.
Joe, what can you tell us about this truck?
Right, this is a Kaiser Jeep built these between, they came out in 1957 and the last ones rolled off the assembly line in 1964. This is an FC-170. It was built on a CJ5 chassis with a 80-inch wheelbase, and they made a FC-170 which had a 101-inch wheelbase, was built on a Willys regular pickup truck chassis. These bodies were designed, Brooks Stevens, a famous automotive designer from Milwaukee, designed these bodies along with several other Jeep vehicles over the years. These were relatively low production vehicles. They were used a lot in service stations for service vehicles and snow plowing, and most of them had a pretty hard life, and they were really bad for rust, so there's very few survivors.
How did this one last then?
Well, it was I bought it from a guy in northern Wisconsin, and he started the restoration on it, never finished it. Then it sat for 15 years, and another Jeep enthusiast turned me on to it, and I went up there, made a deal with him, brought it home, and had a lot of mechanical issues, and the paint and the body work was done on it, so I can handle anything mechanical, but body work and paint work is not my forte. But
how long have you had it?
I've owned it about, I think about 4 years now. It gets a lot of attention. It's a rare vehicle. There's very few survivors, and it really gets a lot of attention. I enjoy taking it to these car shows and what have you, and we have a good time with it. It is not a vehicle to be driven on the interstate. Because of its high center of gravity and short wheelbase, you don't want to drive it faster than about 45 or 50 miles an hour.
This is a 1967 Lincoln Continental. Jack, if you want to tell us something about it.
Okay, this is a one-off custom-built Lehman-Peterson limousine. It's only an 8-inch stretch. It was a corporate car built for John Cyril, who was the CEO of Cyril Pharmaceutical in Skokie. The reason for the stretch is that being a corporate car, usually they didn't want the chauffeur to know what was going on when they were talking business in the back seat, so they could put a glass partition in between the chauffeur's compartment and the rear compartment, and it's pretty soundproof, and so that was the reason that they cut it and stretched it. It was the only one ever built of this size by Lehman-Peterson. Mr. Cyril passed away in 1978, and the car was purchased by a gentleman who collected only Lehman-Peterson built cars. And this being one of the rarest ones there was in the Lehman-Peterson line, he had to have it, I guess. So he bought it, but almost never used it. It sat in this collection until June of 2012, when I discovered it in this collection in New Jersey. The gentleman had passed away, and the son-in-law selling off all the vehicles. And when I heard the name G.D. Cyril, it is a company that I've done business with since I've been in the limousine business for 44 years. They've been clients of mine.
Well, this car's got a real Lake Forest basis too, a real Lake Forest story to it.
Yeah, they used to live right across the street over here on Deer Path Road. So I don't know if they lived up here then, but I think the car was stationed in Skokie in the garage, but Mr. Cyril would drive himself down to the plant in the morning, or the chauffeur would come up and pick him up, one or the other. But I think the car stayed in the garage in Skokie. And it's just in its used car condition. It's nothing has been touched since it was sold to this gentleman, except for we put tires on it and stuff like that to make it safe. And
Any idea how many miles are on it total?
it has 85,000 original miles on it.
Since 1967, so
Yeah.
that's great. Low mileage.
Low mileage and drives like a brand new car. It's phenomenal on the road.
Well, we sure appreciate you bringing it out to the show today. This is one of the highlights of the show, I'm sure.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We've got now a 1935 Packard convertible with interesting Alaska plates on it. I'm sure there's some story to that. The owner doesn't seem to be here though, so we'll just have to leave that to our imagination. Beautiful color. Kind of, I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but very deep, beautiful paint job, and rumble seat in the back. Something that maybe some of the younger viewers of this thing have never seen. This was like a trunk. The seat folded closed when not in use, and you can open up and put two people back there. This is before the era of seat belts and stuff, and this would never pass, of course, modern engineering and safety standards, but back in the 30s it was the thing to have. Your car? Great. Can you tell me the story of the Alaska plates?
I have an Alaska Auto Trust, and you can get a title up there and not pay taxes. So when
Really?
I bought the car, I had it registered in Alaska, and that's why I have Alaska plates. But I live here in Lake Forest.
Has the car ever been to Alaska? No.
Never. No. It's been between here and Denver. The restoration was done in Castle Rocks, just south of Denver, by Mark Clayton, and so he's restored the whole car.
Is the car originally from Lake Forest area, do you know?
No, the car was originally from California, and I bought it from Zach Brinkerhoff, who was one of the top Packard collectors in the country. He had bought and sold over 100 Packards in his life. I met him when he was 95. He was a friend of mine, and this friend knew I was into cars, and so he said, "Do you want to see what Zach's got left in his warehouse?" And I said, "Sure." So we went there, and he had about 5 Packards, and he had some other cars too, but this one I fell in love with. And it was about 95% done with the restoration, but he was 95 and he'd tired out. Yeah. So I said, "Zach, if you ever want to sell the car, I'll buy it." And so he said, "You know, I really like you, I want you to buy the car." And so I bought it, I paid him what he asked for, and then I sent it back to Castle Rock, and I talked to Mark Clayton. I said, "What else would you do to the car?" And he told me, and so we set up a schedule, and he finished the car, and I just got it back this spring. I had it here at the car show last year, and you know, it got judged, and I did very well. But there were some things, as the judges are very picky, that I changed over the last year. So the car is pretty much done.
So hopefully you have a little better outcome in the judging this year, because
We'll see. Yeah, you know, you never know. But I met some very interesting people who are in the Packard Club here in Chicago today, and I'm going to join that. And they want me to bring the car to Geneva. Geneva's having a show at the end of August, so I'll be there.
That's great. Now, when you take it, do you trailer it? You don't drive it.
I'll drive it to Geneva.
Well, okay.
But you know, if it's going across country, you put it on
obviously.
a semi.
Right.
Yeah, and they take it and strap it down underneath in the frame and so forth. But I've had a lot of fun with it. It drives great. You know, it's not power steering or anything, but it's more comfortable than any modern car you can imagine, because it's really heavy, and it drives really well. It's a 3-speed, and it takes a little while to get used to it, but I love it.
No, that's great.
I just drive it around here.
Dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da dip 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 doody dow ba doopy doo ba da da.
This is a
1929
Yep.
Model A Ford
okay.
with a Boyer, all Boyer fire apparatus.
You got that right because I'm reading off the card there.
Oh no, I got
You're coming from Woodstock?
yes.
Okay,
yes.
great. Did you drive
This-
it down?
No, we trailered it.
Trailered it.
This was the second motorized fire apparatus that Marengo had.
Oh my goodness. So it's a local vehicle
It's
and
a
still
local
around.
vehicle, and well, we went over the whole thing. I mean,
How long have you
everything,
had it?
I've had it 5 years.
Okay.
And it took me 5 years to do it. Because
And you're probably still working.
Everything was rotted off of it, you
No
know.
kidding.
And I even got some pictures here if you wanted to see.
Where was the store before that had gotten such bad shape?
Outside.
Oh.
It sat outside for 20 years.
Oh.
And that's what it looked like when I got it.
Maybe
That's
we
the
can get
garage.
Luke to get, if he can get that on the old video camera. Got another picture of, oh, here's a good
couple more.
start. So this is what
This is what
avid
it looked like.
vehicle collectors go through. They find a car that's just in horrible shape, and you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and years into it, and
Yes.
come out with something
Yes,
like this.
Yes. And we only finished it about 3 weeks ago.
Is this the first show you've been in there?
No, I've had it a couple other
Okay.
shows. But it runs good, and it's fun to drive, except when it only do about 30 miles an hour.
Sure.
I got to put goggles on
Really?
because my glasses do this.
I love the Dalmatian
Well, you got to
co-pilot.
have a
That's right.
Dalmatian if you got a fire truck. I mean, you know,
This is great.
it's not, you know, what can I tell you?
We may have Luke just go around and get some pictures
All right.
of different
Okay.
sides of the thing, and you have to
All righty.
continue to talk here.
Okay.
So, have you had other fire trucks before, or is this your first?
No, this is my first one. I belong to the Northern Illinois Fire Museum out in Marengo.
Oh, really?
And like I said, this car was, after Marengo was finished with it, they gave it to the American Legion. They painted it blue with a brush and a roller, and it sat outside for 20 years. All the running boards, the seat, the back, everything was completely rotted away.
Did you just see it out there and talk to someone to see what is available?
No, a friend of mine spotted it in this gentleman's garage.
Okay.
So I went over there and
Struck a deal. And
struck
here we
a
are.
deal, and here it is.
Yeah. Is it hard to find parts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not so much for the Ford parts, but
Right.
you know, everything for
the fire truck.
We had to make the ladders.
Well, that's probably the best part of the vehicle, though, is the ladder. I can tell the kind of craftsmanship that went into that. Really nice.
Yeah, I made all that.
I'm saying it's nice.
But no, it's fun.
That's
It's
great.
different.
It's different. That's what brought us over to it. Love the color. Love the fact that it's just not another vehicle. It's something interesting with a local history. That's great too.
Yes, yes.
This is Terry Desmond of the Lake Forest Lake Bluff Rotary Club, who's running the People's Choice voting booth right here. And Terry, why don't you tell us something about that?
Yeah, we allow all of the attendees that come to this great car show to make a selection of their favorite car. That's what this gentleman is doing right now. And so we've got the ballot right here for him. And all he's going to do is fill in the oval adjacent to the number that's on the windshield and then cast it. And they'll be using the same machines that we use on election day. So we're going to let him go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll follow him in the voting booth. Of course, we can't do this in an election, but here we can.
Well,
And
since,
maybe-
since I'm a purist, I like the unrestored cars. There's a couple out here that are, they call them survivors, which are cars that haven't been restored, that are in their original condition. And I saw a beauty out there, so I'm going to vote for it.
That's great. And we see you marking. We won't say which number it is, but
Okay. All right.
it's not number 125. for
Yeah,
sure.
it's not number one yet.
Okay, and you can put
Beautiful,
that right into the machine.
beautiful
any way you'd
Continental
like.
Mark
Right,
V.
right side up, upside down.
Oh,
it
really?
doesn't make any difference. Sure. That's it.
Yep. The number count went up 1.
Well, we should get that for our car shows. That's the easy way to do it when people, get all the ballots in by noon, then you have to wait 2 hours for everyone to go through all the paper.
And then do recounts. It's going to be terrible.
Yeah,
The results will be done 1 minute after we shut it down.
very good.
Well, thanks for sharing your voting with us.
Thank
We appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
So we're looking for interesting cars in the show, and there's a lot of them. But this one we had to stop because one owner, first of all, and then it says the first Mustang ever sold by the Ford Motor Company. Tell us about that, if you would.
Sure. I bought that car when I got out of college, and I always wanted a convertible. So my father and mother took me over to Johnson Ford on Cicero Avenue in Chicago, and we went to see the salesman. He said he didn't have a convertible on the floor, but he said, "Come in the back room. I got something special." So I went to the back room, and covered up was this car and another car.
It just arrived.
It just arrived, yeah. They were just kind of keeping them hidden because they were not supposed to come out until Saturday, and this was Wednesday. So back then you went shop. I lived at home till I got married, and my parents took me shopping. So all of us went in the back to see this car, and I just fell in love with it. So we signed the papers, but I couldn't take it home that night because it was going to be undercoated.
The undercoating thing.
Undercoating.
We've all gone through that.
So Thursday night I picked it up, and I was a school teacher with my first job, and I drove it to school on Friday, and everybody was just hovering over it. And wherever I went, I felt like a movie star. People would pull me over and say, go like this. They wanted to look at the car. So it was very fascinating. And the custodian said, "Miss Brown, if I had a nickel for everybody that looks at your car, I'd be a millionaire."
And you've had it ever since then?
We've had it ever since. Yes, I've had it ever since, yeah.
Can I guess that it's been refurbished somewhat recently?
Oh, yes. I think 6 years ago he refurbished it all. Yes, he had it. It was sitting in the garage for 27 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I wanted to get rid of it, but he said, "No, we're going to keep this." He built an addition on the garage so we could keep the car.
Sounds like a smart man. It's me talking. Did you have any problem with rust? I've had Mustangs, and there was always a problem with rust because of the construction of the thing. This one, if it was a garage, maybe you didn't.
No, but there was rust on it.
Okay.
Yes. No, my husband can tell you who he hired to redo it all.
it.
But yes, everything. He tried to stick to the original, and things that had to be replaced. But
Do you still drive it?
was.
Do you drive it regularly?
no. I figure he did all the work on it. I'm not going to drive it and put a ding in it.
So it's now become his car.
Correct. But
Oh, that's great.
Yes, I go for rides in it. Yes.
With the top down, I'm sure.
Oh yes, so it's a top down.
Does it have
I'm
a-
amazed at how small it is compared to. I always think when you look at the outside, how small the inside
Oh, yeah.
is.
Yeah.
You know? But and me being tall, it's
You probably couldn't sit in the back seat very comfortably. Give me your
no
front.
for me.
We're here at the center of the car show, which is a food tent, which is run by the Lake Forest Lake Bluff Rotary Club. And proceeds from this sales here go to help fund all the different projects that the Rotary Club does over the years. As a matter of fact, since 1959, this club has raised over $1.2 million and donated that to charities. So this is a great cause. I've got with me Jim Gregory, who is working on the other side of the table. Jim, how are sales today?
Really good. It's coming in waves. We're doing really well. Selling a lot of Coke, Diet Coke, water, a couple different kinds of beer. We got hot dogs, brats, cheeseburgers. It's going really well. So keep them coming, Chuck.
We will. Appreciate your time and keep selling. Are you Dave?
I am.
Is your real first name Good Humor and Dave last name?
Dave DeRocher.
Dave, you got your Good Humor truck here. This is something you actually still do, or is this something for weekends?
I still do. I don't street vend up and down the streets. It's parties and car shows and events like that. But I've been around Good Humor ice cream since I was born.
And this is actual Good Humor stuff that you're selling now?
Correct. Yes, it is.
And this is an actual Good Humor truck?
It's a 1969 Good Humor ice cream truck.
How long have you had it?
I've had this particular truck for 6 years.
It looks like it's in nice shape.
It is. It's work in progress, but it's a nice truck.
Now, to keep the thing cold, is it just ambient cold in there? Or do you have a refrigerating unit that goes?
There is a compressor that gets plugged in at night, and there are cold holding plates inside the freezer. In the morning when you unplug it, it's about 18 below zero.
And then it'll last a day, I hope, yeah.
Yes, correct.
Depending on how many times you have to open, I guess, to sell
Right.
stuff.
On hot days, I put a little dry ice in.
This is great. Any interesting Good Humor stories you want to share with the audience, or that you can share with the audience?
My dad worked for Good Humor Ice Cream for many years, and in 1979, when they closed down the street vending, and he purchased 65 trucks, I worked for him for 10 years. But since I was a little kid, I used to go down to the plant, so I got to know a lot of the regular drivers. So now when I'm at events and people say, "Oh, my Good Humor man was Carl," I knew Carl. So it's kind of fun that you can share, some of the stories. So.
Did you know Don Dumont, who was the local guy around here?
I do remember that name.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
Don was a real character. I think he ran for president along with his Good Humor stuff. Ran for president a couple times on his own ballot, so he was a real character.
I don't know that I ever met him, but I remember my dad talking about that man and another guy, Fred Zappa. There was two guys that my dad always talked about.
Lots of stories, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thanks for coming out to the show today. And are you actually selling ice cream?
Absolutely.
Well, that's good. We'll come back and get some later.
All right.
Good.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dave.
All right. Bye-bye.
We're here now with George Esplin, who's a member of the Lake Forest Lake Bluff Rotary Club, and who also has this beautiful, what is this, George?
This is a 1968 Thunderbird two-door Landau.
You were telling me earlier this is the first year that Thunderbird expanded to a back seat as well as
No, they did that a few years earlier,
Okay.
but they progressively made them larger. You can see these other T-Birds here now. They would have, this one is a tonneau top, but the normal version of that has a back seat in it as well. But they just started getting bigger and bigger, but this is before they got really big. This is made, or the four-door in this version is made on the same chassis as the Mark III.
Okay.
And a lot of the parts in this car are both shared by the Mark III and the Thunderbird.
Now, you've had this vehicle how long?
This is my 5th summer.
Okay. And you said, if I remember right, and I probably don't because I've got the lesson, that has something to do with your dad? Your dad had a car like this?
No, my dad had a Riviera in '67.
Okay.
It was exactly the same color combination with a little bit of a difference in the blue. And when I saw it where I bought it, I just said to myself, oh my goodness. And it really got me going towards the car. And then I drove it after driving two other different vehicles. And this thing was just far superior to the other two.
Are the fuzzy dice on the rearview mirror, is that original equipment?
I bought it at Volo, and when they delivered the car to me, it had those on it. So I've kept it there.
That's good. Probably
it's
good
the
luck.
first time I've ever done it. Even back in the 50s and 60s when it was popular, I never did it. So I don't know what that all means.
Well, you're a late bloomer, that's all.
Yeah, late bloomer. Yeah, and everything in my life.
Well, thank you for the time, and
Okay,
have a great
Chuck.
show.
Thank you very much.
Great. We're here now with Tom Snellback, who's the owner of The Last Detail. And The Last Detail has been involved with this show as long as I can remember, and certainly as long as the Rotary Club has. And you always bring along a great load of vehicles to look at. This year you got 11, and Tom's going to tell us about this one right here.
Sure, it's a 1953 Buick Skylark, a pretty rare car. I believe they made somewhere around 1,800 or so for that year. 53 and 54 were the special years for the Skylark. 53 in particular is my favorite. The hood design, the hood lines, The two cars are actually quite different from each other, both extremely valuable and collectible, but the 53 I think is the most unique. For example, if you look at the windshield, they took the standard Roadmaster windshield and chopped off 3.5, 4 inches of it, shaved it down, and the car looks like from the factory, you know, a roadster from the 50s, you know, a hot rod, a custom-built car, but truly this is the way the car came out of the factory.
Now, where do you find cars like that? How does this car come to you in the first place?
This is owned by a guy who had a pretty substantial collection in Libertyville, a local guy who seeked us out, who was referred to us by one of our other customers, who just wanted nothing but the best. Actually, this is the first time we did a 53 Skylark, and it was quite an interesting project for us. We don't really specialize in any particular brand. We kind of work on all types. Which is a little bit of a challenge, but for my techs and for myself personally, we like the variety and the mixture. You know, we could specialize in one brand like many shops do, but it's just more interesting.
That's the interesting thing about your shop too. You go there and you see all makes, all models, all vintages, and all beautiful.
Thank you much. What we really are trying to do is get, there's so many people who have wanted to play with cars and collect cars, and don't know how to go about it. And what we try to do is offer a turnkey experience where we can help them locate, you know, an exceptional car and start with something good, drive it for a while, and if for whatever reason, if they get tired of it and want to step into something else or step out, we can get them in and out pretty easily without getting hurt too bad. That's kind of our niche.
Oh, that's great. I see some ribbons hanging from the rearview mirror. What is that?
Yeah, we had this car last week over at the Barrington Concours for the first time. And this took a best in class at that event. And this car has actually only been shown twice and has done very well at both of those events. It's a car that we completed a few years ago, and it's just a nice example of our work. So the cars that we bring here are a combination of stuff that we've restored or exceptional cars that we've picked up that are available for sale.
Well, that's great. We sure appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks again for your support of the show.
Happy to help the show.
Great. We're coming to the show tent here where owners get in front of the crowd and explain all about their cars. And that's what's going on right now. I'm going to be quiet and let you listen to some of the narration about this car.
8 for Jim. Any stories you can tell us that of incidents you've had with this car? I know you haven't had that long.
Like I said, the main thing was I was taking it out to a show for the first time in a year. I was putting gas in the front or in the back and wound up having gas coming out the front. The carburetor
sunk.
Yeah, that was it. I was filling up the back and coming out the front. And like I said, that was the end of that day. I had to bring the car home in a trailer. I have no idea. They were not too well. I mean, I haven't gone through the tank I pumped in there that one day.
It's only a 2-barrel carburetor, isn't it?
It's 2-barrel carburetor. No, they were probably 13, 15 miles per gallon. They weren't too bad. I could trace the car all the way back to 1975. A gentleman, Mr. Pope, was a dealer in Ohio or Pennsylvania. He restored the car in the the 70s. He's like you said, he bought it from the original family. But I can't, he doesn't have no paperwork on it. And what it was is this car is actually very solid underneath. All it was just a minor paint job and a few rebuilding the motor, making the motor modern and everything else like that. And like I said, 83 he did receive the AACA Senior Award. So 79, 80 he started showing through the AACA. Like I said, I bought it last October after. It was sitting basically for 30 years, 4,000 miles in the 30 years, so very, very seldom driven car.